What's up, guys? Coding is Prime here, back in with another banger every day, every night. So yeah, I'm gonna be reacting to Alex Bale, like not all of it, just some of it. Let's start, bro.
This is the Goofy Goober alien death cult theory, and no, I am not joking. This seemingly innocent ice cream parlor is a front for something very sinister. The beloved SpongeBob movie actually has a much darker and tragic meaning to it. I am being 100% serious when I tell you that I think this is my best, most convincing theory yet. And if you thought my evolution theory was dark, well, get ready. This is the Goofy Goober alien death cult theory.
Aw, what a mess.
Hey, what's the biggest animal that you have? Oh boy, Alex has finally lost his mind. Goofy Goober alien death cult theory? What, did he make that in a random word generator? Trust me, there's actually a lot to this theory, and if anyone's qualified to make it, it's me, considering I made a whole web series about a restaurant being a front for a cult. Here at Pizza Time Pizza, we don't use any preservative. So, how on earth did I come to the conclusion that it's actually an alien death cult? In fact, what even is an alien death cult? Usually, it's a religious group that wants you to believe that one day aliens will come to Earth and take the members of the cult to a better place. And in order to get there, they have to commit mass suicide. The most infamous example of this being Heaven's Gate. Like I said, this is going to be a very dark video with some serious subject matter. So, how does this have anything to do with Goofy Goobers? In the more recent seasons of SpongeBob, they've started referencing Goofy Goobers again. In fact, there's even an episode called The Goofy Newbie where Patrick gets a job there. And it's in this episode, when Patrick is watching an employee training video, that I first realized there was something more going on here.
The story of our ice cream begins with our founder, Reginald Goober, who for some unexplained reason was nicknamed Goofy. In 1842, he headed west in a covered ice cream wagon. He served his warm ice cream on rocks and sticks. From those humble beginnings, Goofy Goober has grown into a multi-billion-dollar business.
You know, it's a pretty standard company video. They just want their employees to wash their hands and keep their work area clean.
We only ask that you, 1, practice good hygiene, 2, maintain good work habits,
Nothing out of the ordinary, except there's one more thing that they want you to do.
and 3, believe in extraterrestrials.
Ooh.
Peace, hugs, and ice cream.
That's weird. That's very
An
weird.
organization that wants you to believe in aliens. That couldn't be a Heaven's Gate reference in SpongeBob, could it? No, that's crazy. And even if it was, it could just be a random throwaway gag. There's no way Goofy Goobers is actually a cult, right? But then I started to rewatch every appearance of Goofy Goobers, and things took on a whole new meaning. One of the most basic ideas of a cult is that they strip you of your individuality and make you change your entire identity to be about the cult. And that's exactly what Goofy Goobers does. Everyone there wears Goofy Goober uniforms just like a cult.
Interesting.
I mean, what other restaurant has not just employees, but customers that always dress up in a specific way? And their theme song that is constantly repeated and reinforced is just the simple line,
I'm a Goofy Goober, yeah. You're a Goofy Goober, yeah. We're all Goofy Goobers, yeah.
I'm a Goofy Goober, you're a Goofy Goober, we're all Goofy Goobers. It is literally just a song saying that your whole identity is based around Goofy Goobers, and that's it. And in the SpongeBob movie, there's a scene where SpongeBob and Patrick have to try their best to not sing along to the theme song, and it literally causes them intense pain to not sing along.
Sing along, Patrick. Trying so hard.
It's as if they've been brainwashed and physically can't stop themselves from singing it. And you can't even just chalk this up to SpongeBob and Patrick being weirdos. Two other fish can't stop themselves from singing along, even though it means they'll get beat up for it.
Goofy, Goofy, Goober, Goobers, yeah.
And And just like how many cults have an icon or god that they worship, Goofy Goobers has the dancing peanut mascot that's all over the restaurant's branding. I mean, just look at how excited all the kids are when he comes out.
Goofy Goober!
Alright, but just because kids like a mascot doesn't mean that they have some kind of religious worship for them. Well, if you don't believe me, take it from SpongeBob himself.
Open your eyes, Patrick! We blow bubbles, we eat ice cream, we worship a dancing peanut for corn's sake!
We do not worship him.
Patrick, you've been wearing the same Goofy Goober peanut party underpants for 3 years straight! What do you call that?
Worship?
In the SpongeBob movie video game, there's even a Goofy Goober token that reads, "In Goofy we trust," replacing the word God with Goofy. Things are looking awfully culty, aren't they? Cults will also often create reading material about their beliefs for their followers to read, and Goofy Goobers is no exception to this. In the new SpongeBob spin-off, The Patrick Star Show, we see a Goofy Goober employee reading some kind of book about ice cream. And look at him, he's not busy working, he's choosing to read this in his downtime. I mean, compare him to Squidward, who sometimes reads in his downtime at work. It's not like he's reading about the Krusty Krab. This book looks a lot like it's a doctrine for a cult's beliefs. A major part of how cults get so successful is by getting their followers to give them money. Now, obviously, Goofy Goobers charges people for ice cream, but they actually convince their followers to trade their money for a made-up Goofy Goober currency.
I don't know what Plankton's paying you, but if you let us go, I can make it worth your while.
What is this?
That, sir, is $5 goober dollars. Legal tender at any participating Goofy Goobers.
This would explain how the Goofy Goober founder, an idiot who sold ice cream on rocks and sticks, turned the company into a multi-billion-dollar franchise. He convinced people to believe that aliens would one day take them to a better place and got them to give him all their money. Another tactic that cults use to indoctrinate people is overloading them with compliments and making them feel special. And that's exactly what Goofy Goobers does to Patrick when he gets a job there. The training video says that they appreciate him.
Hello and welcome. As a new Goofy Goober employee, we'd like you to know that we appreciate you.
And then his manager says the exact same thing.
I'm your manager, and I want you to know that I appreciate you.
And then despite Patrick messing up and causing chaos, the manager says it once again.
I'll give you another chance tomorrow. If it doesn't work out, I'm afraid you're fired. In a most appreciative way.
There is no reason for the manager to be this appreciative of Patrick after all the terrible work he's done. He's just trying to emotionally manipulate him. The tactic is especially effective on vulnerable people like children, and we see this in the Patrick Star Show. Not only did Patrick start eating Goofy Goober ice cream when he was young, and eventually ended up working there and worshiping their god, but this green kid also grew up to become an employee at Goofy Goobers.
I didn't know that.
There's a clear pattern here. Kids who eat the ice cream all eventually join the cult. They are specifically targeting children for indoctrination, but their manipulation goes far beyond just psychological tactics. Trust me, we've just scratched the surface of how far Goofy Goobers will go to brainwash its members. Things are about to get darker.
Tire to replace. Choose from over 300 brands at Simple Tire.
Yeah, get out. God damn. I'm sorry. Alright, skip it.
There's a part in the SpongeBob movie where SpongeBob and Patrick go to Goofy Goobers and eat tons of ice cream all night to the point where they become completely drunk off of it. It's a really funny scene, but it begs the question, why does the ice cream get them drunk? Maybe that's just how ice cream works in the SpongeBob universe, and it's the show's way of making a family-friendly alcohol reference. But we've seen other instances where characters eat tons of ice cream and it doesn't have this effect on them. Alright, well, maybe this was just a one-time gag for the movie, and it's not a consistent part of the continuity. But in the Season 11 episode, Call the Cops, we get this scene.
One too many Goofy Goobers again, eh, Patrick?
So, another deliberate reference to Goofy Goober ice cream having a weird alcoholic effect on people. Is it possible that they put something in the ice cream to make people more open to cult indoctrination?
Probably
Cults have been
like
known to
some
use
drugs or
drugs to
something.
keep their followers
Yeah.
obedient and suggestible. One of the most infamous examples of this being Charles Manson, who used LSD to convince his followers of his beliefs. If this is the case with Goofy Goobers, they'd probably want to make sure everyone there eats as much ice cream as possible. And the Goofy
Interesting.
Goober building is actually cleverly
Yeah,
designed in a way to ensure that this happens. There are no windows in the entire building, so you can't tell whether it's day or night. And the Goofy Goober clock just has random numbers on it, so it's impossible to keep track of time. Because of this, SpongeBob eats ice cream all night and is actually late for work for the very first time. Also, can I point out the fact that the eyes on the clock seem to follow Patrick around in the Goofy Newbie? It's a really creepy and specific detail to include. I mean, we know from the movie that the eyes are usually supposed to be looking straight ahead, but here they're always watching Patrick, their next target for indoctrination. Now, if the ice cream is what keeps their followers in line, they definitely want to make sure their employees were eating as much as possible. And it turns out, Goofy Goobers actually has a policy about this.
Wow, I can't believe Goofy Goober's employees get to eat all the ice cream they want on this job.
The
Interesting.
employees get to eat all the ice cream they want. Very interesting. And there's evidence to suggest that the ice cream can do a lot more than just make you suggestible. At the beginning of the Goofy Newbie, Patrick is holding up the line asking for samples of ice cream. The employee he's talking to gets frustrated and calls for security to kick him out.
You sampled every flavor we have. Will you please just pick one?
I would like you to use my spoon.
Security, we have a sample mooch at the counter.
But there's something oddly familiar about this employee. Hang on a second. Isn't that Patrick's sister? The new spin-off, The Patrick Star Show, is a prequel to the main show that introduces us to Patrick's little sister, Squidina. And here, we see her all grown up, working at Goofy Goobers. She's even credited as Squidina and has the same voice actor. In The Patrick Star Show, we actually do see her eating Goofy Goober ice cream as a kid, which fits with the pattern of kids who eat the ice cream eventually getting indoctrinated into the cult. Now, Squidina and Patrick have a very close, loving relationship in The Patrick Star Show, but here, they act like they're total strangers. It's not surprising that Patrick would forget his own sister, but Squidina is always portrayed as being smart. It's almost like she completely forgot about him. One of the biggest tactics that cults use to indoctrinate people is isolating them from their friends and family to make them more vulnerable and dependent on the cult. And that's exactly what we're seeing here with Squidina. She has no memory of her family. The ice cream might just be affecting her memory as well. I mean, if she was just meant to be some random reusable character here with no continuity, why would the creators go out of their way to specifically credit her as Squidina, unlike the other random employees who are just credited as employee? Feels like they're deliberately trying to draw attention to it. At the end of the Goofy Newbie, Patrick goes crazy and eats a ton of the ice cream, and then the episode ends in a very interesting way.
Yo.
Peace, hugs, and ice cream.
Now, I don't think Patrick was actually abducted by aliens. I mean, we see him on Earth in the very next episode, and the UFO has the same fake look as the one in the training video. I think that because of all the ice
It's
cream he ate, he
hallucination.
now fully accepts the Goofy Goober's beliefs, and it's caused him to
hallucination.
hallucinate the UFO.
Yeah.
So, at this point, I'd say we can make a very strong case for Goofy Goobers being a cult, but with this realization comes a very dark and tragic new meaning for the SpongeBob movie. Believe me, you will never look at that movie the same way again. Is grow up to fit into society. He just has to embrace his inner kid and be himself. It's a great message that feels really fitting for the character. But if you replace the word kid with Goofy Goober, SpongeBob's arc takes on a whole new meaning. It's not about SpongeBob embracing being himself. It's about SpongeBob fully accepting the indoctrination and beliefs of the Goofy Goober cult. The movie starts